And Bernie Sanders and the entirety of the progressive media apparatus, and the progressive media apparatus, all the progressive movements that support these liberal Zionists, they continue to this day to promote liberal Zionism in the face of genocide. And these are the same people who are legitimizing the anti-Semitism hoax. Guys, did I force Zohran Mamdani to say that he's going to invest funding in the NYPD for anti-Semitism? For all the people, I'm like, for the people who worry about the poor working class picking on the rich Zohran Mamdani. They're like, Nick, why are you being so mean to Mamdani? I didn't force him to say that he's going to send funding to the NYPD on anti-Semitism. I have to highlight how absurd liberal Zionism is. And AOC, she's getting jumped. She united the entirety of the left because she voted against Marjorie Taylor Greene's amendment to remove funding for the Iron Dome. $500 million AOC is sending to a country that is committing genocide. So we're going to get to that here very soon. But let's continue to deconstruct Bernie Sanders Zionism. And this is why I'm more focused on doing mutual aid in Chicago. I'm sorry, guys. I simply don't trust anyone who runs as a Democrat. Who do you guys think Zohran Mamdani is more likely to listen to? Ordinary working class people or people who have a lot of influence within the party? That's what it means to be a Democrat. And we already see in Zohran Mamdani being influenced by genocidal liberal Zionism. And Bernie Sanders and AOC, they realized that their job immediately was to turn Zohran Mamdani as quickly as possible. Got bad luck for you guys. I feel like they're being quite successful. The problem with Bernie and AOC, and they don't realize this, they don't realize that progressive accept Palestine is dead. You have the idea, you have Gaza that's in stage 5 of famine right now. This is something that we as humanity will have to deal with forever. Like, do we just move on and live life normally after we're now in a position where Gaza is in an irreversible famine? Babies starving to death? Literally, mothers, and this has been the case for a very long time, can't produce breast milk. Israel and the IDF is blocking baby formula. So ask a Zionist, what is the military application of Israel blocking baby formula if their goal isn't extermination of the Palestinian people? If you're blocking baby formula, that's just how you know your goal is extermination, genocide, a word that Bernie Sanders still refuses to say. Bernie Sanders, who refuses to call out the genocide in Gaza, is now telling Mamdani to be careful on how you address a genocidal state that is shooting children in the head, that is engaged in starvation as a tool of war. Their settlers are literally blocking aid in mass, purposely starving the Palestinian people. So liberal Zionism is dead. I will continue to advocate for the correct position because many of our Palestinian brothers and sisters cannot. They don't have the luxury because they'll be targeted by these fascists, not only financially retaliated against, but physically. So it's upon us who are allies to take the correct position. The correct position is that all IDF should be tried and imprisoned. What are we talking about? Look at what was done to the Nazis. There wasn't no just following orders. Every single one of these IDF members who took a selfie of themselves posing in little girls' underwear, all these IDF rapists, sex pests, criminals, There's no rehabilitating them. There's no two-state solution where Palestinians have to live next to these monsters. The only correct position is one state where everyone has equal rights under the law. That is how you solve apartheid. We did not solve apartheid in South Africa by creating multiple states. People don't even stand, and people thought I was being unreasonable. Remember my interview with Marianne Williamson? By the way, before October 7th, I'm not one of these Johnny-come-latelys. I was grilling these progressive scumbags and sellouts about why they support a genocidal state, which I've always called genocidal. And there'll be like the Vanguard, Crystal Cow, all the Marianne Williamson supporters, all the John Fetterman supporters, who would never admit I was right, by the way. Back then, they would never understand, like, oh my God, why is Nick so obsessed over the one-state solution, the two-state solution? Because we shouldn't force the Palestinians to live with people who illegally seized their land and committed multiple genocides against the Palestinians after the original crime of the Nakba. And then you have these IDF, the current generation of the IDF, that is engaged in starvation, mass rapes. We literally see there's footage of IDF raping Palestinians to death. And the IDF, they just rallying, yeah, we should have the right to rape Palestinians to death. If you believe that this society deserves to exist, the ruling class stole your humanity from you. Liberal Zionism chipped away from you. The Bernie Sanders, DSA, Social Democrat, Democratic Socialist frauds, they will all believe that Israel has the right to exist. Just because I criticize the Netanyahu government doesn't mean I am against the existence of Israel and its right to defend itself. Garbage. They're the garbage we've been hearing from the left for a very long time. And Bernie Sanders and the entirety of the progressive media apparatus, and the progressive media apparatus, all the progressive movements that support these liberal Zionists, they continue to this day to promote liberal Zionism in the face of genocide. And these are the same people who are legitimizing the anti-Semitism hoax. Guys, did I force Zohran Mamdani to say that he's going to invest funding in the NYPD for anti-Semitism? For all the people, I'm like, for the people who worry about the poor working class picking on the rich Zohran Mamdani. They're like, Nick, why are you being so mean to Mamdani? I didn't force him to say that he's going to send funding to the NYPD on anti-Semitism. You guys know he already backtracked on defund the police, right? So we have the NYPD gets 3 times more funding than North Korea military budget. And you got the progressive cowards that is afraid to make the fiscal argument to conservatives. I went on Jake Shill's show. I'll go on far right shows and I make the argument on why we should defund the police with my chest, with my whole chest. How are you going to be afraid to talk about the fiscal conversation to a fiscal conservative? Do you understand they're in the wrong? They're the ones who say they want a small government. Meanwhile, they're exploding the budget because Donald Trump is funding the police state even more. And then the left, the only thing we have to do, fam, the only thing that abolitionists have to do, fam, is just bring it up to the right. And they have nothing. Explain to them, like, hey, man, you say you don't want a nanny state. Hey, man, I thought you say you don't believe in don't tread on me. I thought you want a small government that's accountable to the people. How are these giant militarized police states, these cop cities, how are this representative of conservative ideology? So to me, and I had a lot of fun ripping conservatives about this, it always blows my mind when people want to run away from one of the easiest fucking conversations we can have with a conservative. You know how many times I had conversations with conservatives about defunding police, and I always got them shaking their head at the end? Remember with Jake Shields, he was like, you support gun rights, right? I was like, yeah, under no situation should we give up our guns to the state? So let's say the liberals become more dictatorial and they wanted to steal your guns, they will use the police to do so. It is not in our interest or anyone's interest to advocate for this. So why is Zohran Mamdani already conceding to the capitalist class without any struggle? He is about to get turned, boy. He is about to get turned. Once again, I'm not upset with Mamdani supporters. I'm not even trying to influence them, to be honest. But if I'm on RBN, and if you're on my timeline on X, I will make the argument for why we need to form a third party. I will make an argument why I don't trust anyone who runs as a Democrat or as a Republican. It's nothing personal regarding Zohran. I don't even know the fucking guy. But to me personally, after seeing and after the fact that we had to live with the fact that Gaza was starved forever, they was killed in the most inhumane, most painful ways possible to maximize the suffering. We had to live with this fact and the fact that our government supported this for the rest of our lives. To me, because I got something called morality, God forbid I got that. To me, I believe that being a part of a genocidal organization is disqualifying. Oh, Nick, come on, man, that's not reasonable. Why not? The second that genocide Joe Biden helped enable the genocide and the Democratic Party endorsed it en masse, they refused to allow Palestinians to even speak at their organization because they're so racist, and you guys want to organize with these genocidal monsters? And just to show you guys how incoherent the left is, there was a lot of these fake DSA leftists who was upset with me because I had a conversation. I was invited to have a conversation with Jake Shields. You know, the guy who opposes Israel committing a genocide. This is what your party supports. This is for, to me, there's no forgiving people who run in this party. Oh man, don't worry, I'm running in the KKK to reform it. Hey guys, I'm running within the Nazi party because I want to reform the Nazi party. Can you guys wake up and realize how ridiculous this is? After what we've seen in Gaza, the worst military campaign in human history, more bombs dropped in Gaza than the Allies dropped in Dresden. More bombs, more children killed in Gaza in only a year and a half than every single battlefield combined for 20 years. You guys, I can go over these stats all day. You guys humanity still haven't even woken up what we've seen and what we lived through in Gaza. Churches being bombed, people being burned alive, children with sniper bullets in their head. The worst thing is Israel is blocking medicine, aid. It's truly the most horrific. Though despite all this that's going on right now, despite the fact that Israel committed genocide, we've seen children being burned alive, they're doing probably one of the most evil acts we've seen in modern human history. Is there a historical precedent for starving a population, creating an aid concentration camp, and then murdering people as they get aid? The Nazis fed the Jews. Zionists literally starving them and murdering them en masse at feeding centers. We have never seen anything like this. Meanwhile, you know what Bernie Sanders is talking about? Bernie Sanders is centering the feelings of genocidal Zionists at this time. I'm going to read this here. This is CNN article about what Bernie Sanders said to Zohran Mamdani. Sanders, who is Jewish, by the way, urged Mamdani to be cautious about how he approaches talking about Israel. Isn't that interesting? And I saw this great post. So big shout out to them. Isn't it interesting whenever Bernie Sanders is asked about genocide, whenever someone asks Bernie Sanders to condemn what Israel doing as a genocide, Bernie Sanders' reaction to that is, oh, come on, man, it's just a word. Come on, man, we getting way too tied up. We're getting way too tied up about genocide or not genocide. Look, this is what Bernie Sanders said. He said, let's be clear, we have 50,000 people who have been killed. Over 100,000 has been wounded. That is horrible. That is barbaric. That is the concern we have. But some people want to argue about a word. So when it comes to Zohran Mamdani and people saying globalize the Intifada and stand up for Palestinian resistance, we have to be extremely careful about what words we use. Hey, come on, man. You don't want to make the Jewish supremacists feel uncomfortable, don't you? Meanwhile, when it comes to talking about the crimes of Israel, come on, man, it's just a word, man. We shouldn't be fucking worried about the word. It's just, come on, man. People have no idea how manipulative Bernie Sanders is. They brainwash young Jewish children, like Bernie Sanders, who grew up in a kibbutz, that they must do propaganda and they must serve Israel at all times. So when Bernie Sanders deflects criticism from the settler colonial state by focusing on Netanyahu, that is him serving the Zionist regime as he was taught from a child. And you guys see how Bernie Sanders, his focus isn't the feelings of the Palestinians who seeing their family get slaughtered while also being smeared as anti-Semitic. Bernie Sanders' job is to legitimize the anti-Semitism hoax. You guys see the role that liberal Zionism play? They are not the best among us. They are not our allies. Bernie Sanders is here to serve fascism. Because what he is implying when he says here by Jewish people being uncomfortable about legitimate chants about resistance, he legitimizing the fraudulent belief that there's some sort of wave of anti-Semitism because people are tired of watching Zionists murder children. You guys see why you will never get this explanation on Kyle Kulinski's Secular Talk, Breaking Points, and all these people who continue to whitewash what Bernie Sanders is, what the role that liberal Zionism play. There are people to this day still defending AOC. It's unbelievable. They still believe that the liberal Zionists are on our side because they tweet that they're sad about Palestinians. You understand how nefarious these people are. Because Bernie Sanders will talk about how, oh my God, I'm sad whenever a Palestinian die. But God forbid that Palestinians achieve a victory. All these liberal Zionists, watch their reaction whenever a Palestinian achieve a victory. Bernie wants them dead. The same with Hamas. He wants them dead. Another important point before I continue. Bernie thinks he's slick. It's not just a word when you talk about genocide. The reason why Bernie Sanders doesn't want to call Israel a genocide because that will make Joe Biden and every single Democrat who voted for arms to Israel complicit in a crime. It's not only against international law to arm a genocidal state, it's a violation of Leahy's law. So you guys see how manipulative and evil Bernie Sanders is being and how he's trying to manipulate the dumbest of the dumbest in the left? And many of the dumb-dumbs like Majority Report, all these people, they give him a pass. They give Hassan Piker gives these people a pass. Hassan Piker tells his giant audience that we shouldn't trust Jill Stein. You know, Jill Stein, who was brutally arrested protesting the genocide of the Palestinian people. So according to Hassan Piker, according to AOC, according to liberal Zionists, we shouldn't trust Jill Stein. But we should trust Bernie Sanders and AOC, who cheered whenever a Palestinian who resists the state of Israel is murdered. And the thing is, guys, you guys can say this all you want, man. I love Chicago girl here. But you guys can say this all you want because you guys always say this. Like, who watched Hassan Piker anyway? Way more people to watch RBN. You guys know how many fucking people watch Hassan Piker, bro? We're cooked. I'm gonna hit 50K on YouTube. Hassan Piker has like 40 to 50,000 people that watch him every time he goes live, and people wonder why the left is fucked. And then people are like, oh, well, we just ignore him. Oh, well, come on, man, don't talk about Hassan Piker. Don't talk about these people. Why do you think the left is in the position that they are? Why do you think the left failed to achieve universal health care when other countries did? Why do you guys think workers' rights have been peeled back? Why do you guys think income inequality is worse than it's ever been? Why do you guys think capitalists have accumulated a massive amount of power? Why do you guys think the Zionists was able to commit their genocide? Because we have motherfuckers like Hassan Piker, who is leading workers off a cliff, who are way more influential than RBN. And I see it all the time. Hassan Piker giving Zohran Mamdani comeback interviews. He had Bernie Sanders on, never asked him anything about Ukraine, why he doesn't call it a genocide. He's going to play video games with AOC like she didn't fucking support funding the Iron Dome. And these are the people, according to the professional managerial class, Hassan Piker is way more legit than us, apparently. That's the state of the United States left, my friends. But let me continue here. I know you guys don't watch them. You guys big. You guys are in the RBN audience. What do you expect? You guys know the RBN audience. You guys are showing up at mutual aid events. You know what I mean? Like, this is the same person. Obviously, I love Chicago girl. I wasn't going after her at all. What kind of smug trust is Tom Piker? Like, to you guys, understand, to you guys, it's inconceivable. But the United States left is so cooked. These are the people who run shit on the left. Why do you guys think Jill Stein only got like 0.1% of the vote? Because Hassan Piker ran a smear job against her, told his entire audience not to trust her, and they didn't. We can't just ignore these people, man. He's the same person that's trying to sell his audience as Zohran Mamdani as some savior. And here we go. Mamdani's already starting to sell out. So I'll read this part again. You guys see what Mamdani is saying, which already should raise every single red flag. Sanders, who is Jewish, urged Mamdani to be cautious about how he approaches talking about Israel. Both are critics of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel's handling of its war in Gaza. Ahead of the trip, Mamdani told business leaders in New York that he would discourage the use of the phrase globalize the intifada. Fam, he's conceding before he even took office. And the cope is incredible because people are like, oh, don't you know, Nick? He only say this because he went to win the election. Hey, fam, quick question. Give me one example of someone who ran to the right and then governed to the left. Show me one time that. Show me one time we've been pleasantly surprised. Oh man, this guy said a lot of disappointing stuff on the campaign trail, but he actually based. When has that ever happened? Bro, the cope I am seeing regarding this boy Zohran is incredible. Because if you are already throwing globalized intifada and this kind of shit before you even took office, what's stopping him from conceding even more when he has to deal with different business pressures? You guys understand how crazy corrupt New York politics is, what happens when he had to make a concession because he has to win re-election? What if he has to make a concession in order to get some funding bill approved? Like if you're conceding this early, bro, you're cooked. I'm sorry, bro. Show me an example of a politician selling out this early and then surprising us. And I am particularly furious at people throwing globalized the Intifada under the bus. For one, Zohran Mamdani got over 100,000 Jewish votes. He's not scaring nobody. He's not scaring anybody. But look at what Bernie Sanders said. Look, according to the person familiar with their conversation, Sanders told Mamdani he had to do a better job explaining that his criticism is not anti-Semitic. Why is that Zohran Mamdani's job? To me, I'm gonna lib out a little bit here. I'm gonna be a little bit of a shit lib here. But to me, isn't that extremely racist of Bernie? You guys see the anti-Muslim, anti-Arab bias? The idea that Zohran Mamdani a Muslim, any Arab, you gotta jump through hoops to criticize Israel murdering children? Serious. That's two feelings you want to center right now. Instead of standing up for Zohran, which anyone who's principled should, who's mirroring him as anti-Semitic simply because he's Arab and Muslim, it's even more offensive because Zohran is a liberal Zionist. To me, he's a fucking very milquetoast liberal Zionist. I understand that may be good for electoral politics in New York, I guess, but he's a fucking milquetoast liberal Zionist who doesn't even come close to praising the resistance, never used the term globalize the Intifada, never openly praised Hamas like we did, not cheering for the tactical defeat of the Zionist regime. Like, because I unapologetically cheer for the resistance. Mamdani is fucking miles away from the RBN position. But still, according to Bernie Sanders, Mamdani has to do a better job explaining his criticism is not anti-Semitic. Mamdani is too spicy for Bernie Sanders. That's crazy. That's crazy. Look at this part right here. He had to do a better job explaining that his criticism is not anti-Semitic and to not let himself seem like he's minimizing the fears of Jews. You got to see what these scum, what these liberal Zionist scum like Bernie Sanders, you see what they're centering? They're centering the opinion of genocidal Jewish people. Remember, Zohran dominated the youth Jewish vote. He had over 100,000 Jewish people vote for him. But Bernie Sanders doesn't give a fuck about them. Bernie doesn't care about the anti-Zionist Jews that are 100% comfortable with Zohran Mamdani. Bernie Sanders centers whose opinion? Bernie Sanders centered the opinion of the Ben Gvir Jews. What the fuck? Why is Bernie Sanders centering the opinion of the Ben Gvir Jews? Like, these are the people like Mark Levin who's having a meltdown over Zohran Mamdani. But look, Bernie Sanders want him to focus on him. And this is not new. This big shout out to Zay Squirrel for bringing this up. I'll cover this. Bernie Sanders scolded Ilhan Omar. This is not new. Bernie Sanders did this thing and this is what Lottie's quote unquote, and I very emphasis on the quote, anti-Zionist Jews. Well, Bernie's not even an anti-Zionist Jew, to be clear. But all these Jews who claim they care about Palestinians, you guys see how they always, without fucking fail, they can't help themselves but to wag the finger at Arabs and Muslims about how they talk about Israel. If I was Jewish, I would be ashamed. Can you imagine being Jewish and feeling like you can fucking lecture anyone? And that what these anti-Zionist Jews do all the time. They told police people all the time. And Bernie Sanders, who's a genocidal Zionist Jew, he's wagging his finger at Ilhan Omar, who once again, far from radical. Far from a fucking radical. Ilhan Omar's position is, hey man, maybe you should stop murdering so many people. I will still support you. I'll still support a genocidal party, but man, can you stop murdering so many people? And Ilhan Omar brought up the fact that Israel is an apartheid state, which is a fucking fact. But Bernie Sanders is against not only you saying that there's a genocide in Gaza, but he's against people even calling it an apartheid state. Progressives should tone down calling Israel an apartheid state. This is what Bernie Sanders says. Remember, Bernie Sanders is the same guy who says he's against BDS. He's against you boycotting Israel, which is a non-violent answer to the genocidal Zionist regime. But Bernie Sanders is against that. And he said, well, I'm against sanctions. I'm against sanctioning states. Meanwhile, he supports sanctions against Russia. Supports sanctions against Nicolas Maduro. So when people say Bernie Sanders is honest, fam, wake up. Bernie Sanders is better than the brainless average senator who don't even hide the fact that they screwing the American people over. But Bernie Sanders is not honest, and he is way more malicious than people give him credit for. They're not surprised, guys. Chomsky is also an anti-communist. Like, Chomsky has good takes on Ukraine, NATO, European imperialism, but he has a lot of misses. Him opposing BDS, that's another giant miss. What else do we have here? Oh, man. It's not good, isn't it? So I said that I am worried about Zohran Mamdani being immediately turned by the DC establishment. And if you don't know who that is on the far left, that is Richie Torres. Why is Zohran Mamdani taking photo ops with Richie Torres? And this is the new, you guys know this is the new budding friendship with Richie Torres. He came out and defended Jordan. He's like, hey man, I don't think you guys should call him anti-Semitic, man. I got disagreements, and I wish Jordan need to chill about how he talk about Israel, but I don't think he's anti-Semitic. And then Jordan like, hey man, yeah, I know me and Richie Torres, we got disagreements about genocide, but we all agree that we want the best for New Yorkers, so we're gonna work with Richie Torres. Richie Torres is a genocidal monster who, after Zohran Mamdani was elected, and he's seeing the polls showing Democrats are turning against Israel en masse, especially in New York, where you have 100,000 New York Jews voting for Zohran Mamdani. You have a massive anti-Zionist coalition where Richie Torres sold out the Palestinian movement and made the calculation that he's going to be a pro-Zionist bootlicker. Remember what I said in the beginning of the show? I find it morally reprehensible to run in a party that is genocidal. So not only is Zohran Mamdani running in a genocidal party, Zohran Mamdani is whitewashing Richie Torres for free. Peep it out. Because they're now friends now. They're now going to work together. What does Zohran Mamdani get from rehabilitating Richie Torres? Zohran Mamdani dominated the Democratic Party primary. He's in a position to bend the establishment to his will. There are a lot of bootlickers who say, oh, Mamdani's doing this because he has to win. Do you guys see the numbers? He's in a position where he has to bend the establishment to his will, but he's doing the exact opposite. He's giving free PR to the worst Zionists in Congress. The same people, and it's the intellectual inconsistency, man, that gets me. Because the same people like, oh, come on, Nick, why you can't ever talk to Jake Shields and honest Nick? You shouldn't talk to Jimmy Dore. You shouldn't talk to this person. You shouldn't talk to Hodge. These same people who put all these litmus tests and put barriers up against the working class and saying that you shouldn't work with your neighbors. They don't have nothing to say about Zohran Mamdani organizing with a genocidal freak. Because say whatever you want. He has some cringe takes he had before. But Jake Shields opposed genocide. You guys saw the conversation. He said he wants nothing but the best for me and my community. He opposed genocide. He wanted the two-party duopoly to be overthrown. Not the perfect person, but isn't he way better than a fucking genocidal monster? You guys see the hypocrisy? That it's okay for Bernie Sanders to be friends and vote for someone like Marco Rubio. But God forbid the workers organize with their neighbors, even though we have cultural disagreements with each other. You guys see the difference?